this race, he ignited it. His campaign hasn't just caught fire, it's become a full-blown movement, a movement of workers, immigrants, nurses, techs, and janitors. We live in the richest city, in the richest country in the world. Yet somehow folks are still skipping meals, drowning in rent, and being sent home from overcrowded ERs. Make it make sense. That's why Zoran's vision matters. It's bold, it's urgent, and it's unapologetic. He's not here to patch up the status quo. He's here to replace it. And we appreciate that. And guess what? The people in power are nervous. How do we know? Because Donald Trump and his right-wing sidekicks are poking their noses into New York politics. Trump should stay out of this town. He should not try to meddle in New York City politics. Meanwhile, his party just yanked $1 trillion from Medicaid to line the pockets of the rich. That's not policy, that's robbery. And now our hospitals are understaffed, our members are watching their colleagues disappear in deportation raids, and our communities are living in fear, in constant fear. Let's call it what it is, cruelty. Cruelty in a suit and in a tie. Anyone standing with that agenda or staying silent while it happens is complicit. New York is a union town. That's why us at 1199 and my brothers and sisters at 32BJ are here. We're a town that knows how to fight, organize, and win. And when we elect Zoran Mamdani as our next mayor, we won't be flipping a seat, we'll be flipping the script. Away from billionaires, away from everything that they're doing now. And we're gonna focus on who built this city and who kept it running every day. Let's make history, let's make noise. Thank you all and have a good day.
Thank you so much. Can we hear it for 1199 and Nadine? Before we move to our next speaker, I also want to recognize NYSDA, the incredible members that we have here, from so many of the nurses that keep New Yorkers safe and alive every single day. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to a dear friend and a leader in our labor movement, Candace from 32BJ.
32BJ! 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 Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Candace Tall, Executive Vice President and Political Director of 32BJ. 32BJ! We are the labor union that represents 90,000 building service workers in New York and 185,000 along the East Coast. That includes security officers who guard our lobbies, cleaners, door people, supers, school custodians, airport workers. Workers who are on the front lines of the affordability crisis facing our city. We're here today because this moment is unique. Our city is under attack by a federal administration and Donald Trump that is unqualified to know what New York City needs. They don't know what's best for our city. A federal administration that gives tax breaks to billionaires, that cuts our healthcare funding, attacks our retirement, rescinds funding for our institutions, and is trying to strip 32BJ workers of the right to exist in this country. An administration that wants to roll back our country's hard-fought-for worker rights protections. Trump is undermining our nation's democracy. We won't let that happen here in New York City. We have sued this administration and have continued to take to the streets to advance a politics that puts actual for the city that families can afford. Zoran Mamdani has united and inspired New Yorkers around a positive, optimistic vision for a truly affordable New York City. He is ready and equipped to fight for a city and has made clear that he is ready to stand up against Donald Trump. We thank Zoran for all of his 100%. And we thank you for convening. The city is not for sale. And we are united against Trump's administration. And we know when we fight,
we win.
When we fight,
we win.
When we fight,
we win.
And now we're going to turn it over to the guy that's going to win because he's a fighter.
Okay, we're going to take on-topic questions, so we'll start with Nick Sandos.
Okay, I've got a two-parter here. What do you think Trump could actually do in this race that would help him or another candidate? Has he necessarily made up his mind? Like, in a city where only 30% of people vote, what could he possibly do? And secondarily, if he were to call you, would you take the call? I don't know if you can pass he called you.
Donald Trump has not called me. I've said that my approach to Washington will not be a reflexive one. It is one that will be in opposition to Donald Trump's administration when it comes for New Yorkers, when it comes at the expense of the welfare of the people that I am seeking to serve. If the president and the administration is looking to work for the benefit of New Yorkers, which is what he spent so much of his campaign speaking about, that is a different conversation. If he wants to actually act upon the cheaper groceries that he told us he would deliver, that is a different conversation. But what threatens the president so much about my campaign, our movement, is the fact that it showcases the way in which he's betrayed the very people that we are seeking to serve. He ran a campaign about affordability. He ran a campaign about cost of living. And those same New Yorkers, those same Americans, do not find the necessity of their life any more in reach than they were before the presidential election. And our commitment, it is in contrast to his because it's sincere. It's one that we will actually deliver on.
If he called, would you pick up and talk with him? I sort of share the message, but would it be obvious I'll have a conversation with him?
I will tell Donald Trump the same thing I'm telling you right now. That's what marks me different than Andrew Cuomo. Whatever I say on a sidewalk, I say in a press conference, I say in a boardroom. It's the same agenda, it's fighting for the same people, and I will make that case to everyone. What I will not do, however, is pick up the phone to call Donald Trump to ask how we could work together to defeat the will of Democrats across this city. That's what Andrew Cuomo did.
Laura,
Sorry, yeah.
Laura, over here.
What would you say to Andrew Cuomo and his team who say that the president would cut through you like a hot butter knife? He said this during the debate, but more specifically that he's the one that has the experience and that your election would ultimately hurt Democrats across the nation. How would you respond to that criticism and their comments that they're apparently the only ones who can stand up against Trump?
My administration would be Donald Trump's worst nightmare. And you don't need to take me at my word or take Andrew Cuomo at his. You need to only look at the actions of the Trump administration since I won the Democratic primary. How else can you describe a president who has proposed denaturalizing the Democratic nominee of New York City? How else can you describe a president who has sought to entertain suggestions of deporting me, of arresting me, of taking control of the city over the will of New Yorkers? Those are the actions of a president who is afraid of the fact that I will actually deliver in a manner where he is simply betrayed. That is what we have to look at to understand that our campaign represents our city's best chance at not only fighting back against authoritarianism, but understanding that democracy is also under attack from within. We need only look at the example of the greatest mayor in New York City history, Fiorello LaGuardia, who said, "One cannot preach the virtues of self-governance and liberty to a starving people. In order for us to defeat this authoritarian movement, we also have to showcase the ability for our democracy, our city government, to meet the needs of a population of whom 1 in 4 are in poverty in the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world."
Yeah, Boomer. Laura.
Hi, sorry. Just to piggyback on Laura's question, what do you say to people who maybe don't have a candidate in the race yet, who are nevertheless worried about the fact that you uniquely might make New York City more of a target for the Trump administration than it already is, and sort of inadvertently draw more attention and more attacks, more harassment, more defunding threats, etc. What's your response to that, and how could you combat that?
We have seen over the course of this current mayoral administration an example of what New Yorkers can win through a policy of collaboration and cowardice. And the examples we've seen are the stealing of more than $80 million from the city's bank account, are threats and realities of lawsuits against this city, and the passage of legislation that will throw more than 1 million New Yorkers by last estimate off of their health care, that will steal food from hungry New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, that will seek to make an example of that which makes so many of us proud to be New Yorkers. And we know that the most effective way to take on Donald Trump is not through that cowardice, is not through that collaboration, it is through courage and conviction. We can see that in examples across the country and across the world. We need only follow that lead and showcase the ability for us to stand up for the very things that we say that we believe in. And that's what our campaign will show.
Josie? Hey, how are you? I'm wondering if you think we saw Mayor Adams' seemingly his approval ratings peak as he cozied up to Trump. I'm wondering if you think this is good news for your campaign, that seemingly there's potential for collaboration with Cuomo as well.
I have thought of this much more through the context of what this means for our city, frankly, than what this means for our chances. We have been confident ever since we won a Democratic primary by close to 13 points, after having been outspent by so many of the very billionaires that supported Donald Trump's return to the White House, all to advance Andrew Cuomo's mayoral campaign. What we are seeing in this moment is an attempt to bring us back to the politics of the past, a politics that, as you've noted, New Yorkers have rejected time and again. New Yorkers do not want a mayor who is working in tandem with the president to subvert the will of the people of this city. We are talking about a president who has not just had that conversation with Andrew Cuomo, but one who is being briefed regularly with polling of this race, and who is asking Congresspeople as to what they think would be the best way to defeat our campaign. All of it comes back from the understanding that for Donald Trump, the victory that we would deliver for working class New Yorkers is one that threatens the very basis of so much of his politics. It is a politics of insincerity, it is a politics that we know not to trust, and yet it is a politics that preys upon the despair of so many across this country who are struggling to make ends meet.
We'll go to Ethan.
I think when it comes to, like, when you actually get into office, how do you see yourself approaching dealing with Donald Trump? You know, you've had a lot of conversations with people trying to win him over and bring him into your coalition. Would you try the same approach with him, or something more adversarial?
I would make the same case that I make to each and every New Yorker. It is a case where if we can agree on who we're fighting for and what we'll deliver, I'm willing to work with anyone. You know, yesterday I was with Assemblymember Khalil Anderson in the Rockaway, and we were touring small businesses. And a woman came up to me and she said, "I'm a Republican. Will you speak to me as well?" I said, "Absolutely. This is a campaign for each and every New Yorker." She asked me, "What are you here for?" I said, "I'm here to share our plan to cut fines and fees for small businesses by 50%, to speak about investing tens of millions of dollars into the best teams that are supposed to assist businesses as they navigate through a bureaucracy, and yet only 3% of businesses utilize those services." And I spoke to her about the fact that city government's responsibility is to make life easier for New Yorkers. We do not ask who those New Yorkers vote for. We do not ask what party they belong to. We do not even ask if they vote at all. They are New Yorkers, and that is the responsibility that I will hold as a mayor, is to represent each and every one of them.
Yeah, Henry?
Hi, Zara. How you doing? With this news, do you need to say to Leader Jeffries, Leader Schumer, Governor Hochul, time to get off the sideline and support me, and to put a button on something, because staff for Governor Hochul and President Trump himself denied this report that they spoke about this campaign? Do you believe both those men are lying?
I believe the New York Times over President Trump and Andrew Cuomo. And we've seen as of this morning that they stand by their reporting. I've appreciated the conversations that I've had, fruitful and productive ones, with Leader Jeffries, with Senator Schumer, with Governor Hochul. And I look forward to the partnership that we will continue to build for the benefit of people across this city and across this state. And to New Yorkers, what I will say is that we know the choices in front of us in this moment. Donald Trump functionally has 3 candidates in this race. One that he is directly conspiring with, another that he has bailed out of legal trouble and functionally controls, and the third, who is quite literally a member of the Republican Party. I am the Democratic nominee, thanks to the support of New Yorkers across these 5 boroughs, with the most votes of any Democratic primary nominee in the history of Democratic primaries in this city. And I take with that a confidence of how we will make our case and a belief in the values of this party, that they can finally deliver for the people of this city if we are willing to actually fight for them, not in the manner of Andrew Cuomo, who's willing to betray them all in service of his own ambition.
All right, we'll take one more. Yeah, right over here.
Hi, I'm Kayla Second BBC. We're out here outside 26 Federal Plaza. We see local technical privacy. Criticize factors now. I wonder, as mayor, if there are actions or policies specifically you need to take to change what's happening here now to address this policy that you criticize.
We are standing at the site where New Yorkers have come for regular routine check-ins, thinking it just another that they have to go through, not knowing that they will not see their family again. New Yorkers who have been dragged, disappeared, and detained hundreds of miles away from the city that they call home. And there is a responsibility that we hold as leaders to make it clear that this is an attack on the entire fabric of this city, and also a political and technical responsibility to do all that which is in our power to stand up for those same liberties. I have spoken about my commitment to hire 200 additional lawyers to ensure that the law department is at the same staffing levels it was at pre-pandemic, to create pay parity for those lawyers across city agencies so that no longer do we face the same retention crisis, to build upon the steps we're taking to provide legal representation for New Yorkers in deportation proceedings, because we know that by the mere act of providing legal representation, that New Yorkers' chance of going home to their family increases 11-fold. And by my defense, a defense that I will stand by, of our sanctuary city policies. Policies which have kept this city safe for decades. Policies that have been defended by Republicans and Democrats alike. And yet the same policies which we are willing to sacrifice at the altar of Donald Trump, all in the name of giving away everything that we are proud of, in the hopes that this president does not look back at the city that he has made a focus of his administration, whether the first or the second.
Thank you guys so much.